Alright, on this tutorial we are going to be looking at modeling with t-splines. It's a different kind of way of modeling. If any of you have ever done polygon modeling, very similar to that. But it gives you a really nice way to make some very sculpted forms fairly easily. And we're going to see what we can do with it. So the files I'll be using, this is under Pendent, see the brooch, the start file, which we'll jump in here in a second. But this is the pendant brooch with the med RX. So here's the brooch by itself with the details that are modeled onto it, and then at the end here is this necklace that would go around, and there's a little hook that we modeled in as well. So this actually fits into the top of the RX device, the pill dispensing device. Is basically a way to dispense or to recharge the unit at night and all. Okay, so let's get started on this. Pretty easy form to develop. Alright, so in the start file, go underneath the sketches and turn everything off except for that sketch reference circle. This is actually going to be built kind of off center, so just be mindful of that. Alright, t-splines are actually located underneath the model workspace, but you go to the create menu and you go down and say create form. Okay, then it replaces with the menus up there that are for create form. One important detail, you're going to kind of work with t-splines here. Then when you're done, you say finish form. Hopefully if everything is proper, it'll convert to a solid, and then you'll be able to do other kind of typical tools on extrude, cut, and so forth. Okay, so look underneath this create menu and choose the first one, box. Okay, gotta give a reference plane on which to build it off of, so we'll choose that one there. And I'll zoom up, and we're going to want to basically use this circle here as kind of a rough guide to how to lay this out. Okay, click there, and then I'll go out to these corners and draw it. Now, if it doesn't get the right size, it's basically 40 millimeters width and length on this. You click a second time, then the actual height gets developed. That will change to 12. Okay, as far as the height there. Let me move this into the center, get rid of the data panel. Now, I was playing around earlier with doing symmetry on this, but actually it's not going to be needed for this. So under symmetry right here, it's normally none, and that's what we want with this. Okay, you can add in more of these faces by grabbing these little sliders. Let me just show you here real quick. So when you do that, you get tighter radiuses out here. But for this design, I don't need to do that. I can keep it at the default of just basically 2 by 2 like that. Okay, so I'll hit OK to that. Alright, so our first modification is a pretty simple one. You want to go in and grab the edges here, the top and the bottom, and we're going to basically go all the way around and pick the matching ones on the other 3 sides. Let me get this last one here. Okay, and once again, these are edges. You can pick faces, you can pick vertices, or you can pick edges like that. Okay, so we're going to now go to the modify, edit form, and when you do, you get this jack. Now this jack actually has a lot of capability in it, and maybe looking a little intimidating to start off with. If you go up here to the transform mode, you can click on this and you can see there are the controls for doing basically translate. You can move geometry up, down, side to side, or you can grab these planes and move within a plane. This is the rotational value, so I can grab these and rotate the form. Okay, it's about a pivot point, which is usually where the jack is. Do that. And then finally, the last one is scale. So we can scale it proportionally at the middle or relative to one of these axes. Let me jump back to the multiple one, and I do want to try to click right there in the center to do what we call proportional scaling, and we're going to pull it towards the right, and when you do, you can see how it pinches the form in. Okay, so that's the nice thing about t-spline forms. They you know, are really easy to start sculpting with and doing some interesting geometry wise. Now I'm going to do a few other modifications, just show you what else you can do before we get out of this. One thing is I'm just come over here and I'm going to grab that point right there's the vertices, and I'm simply going to push it down. Okay, and did I grab? Yep, form, so it's sculpting this a little further that way. I'm going to come over here and grab that face and then grab the matching face. Okay, same thing, I'm just going to kind of push those down. Now, a form change like this pretty much does the overall shape. Okay, as we get into more extreme kind of views of it, we can definitely look and see how it makes it more sculpted. But for right now, that's all we need to do. And then finally, I'm going to pick this edge again. And on this one, I'm actually, let's see how this lines up. How about if we just pull these down a little bit? Okay. So there we are. We sculpted this form, not too much, not too extreme, but just kind of give you a little flavor of what you can do with this. I'll hit OK and be done with the edit form. And then to actually use this, and this is real important, we want to say finish form. What happens then is this form gets converted into a solid at that point, and it's just like other solid geometry to work with. What you should see is, once again, that white cube is indicating that it's a solid. If it's a surface form or a t-spline form indicator, then just be aware that's what it is. At this point, it didn't convert to a solid. Okay, so we're good with that. Alright, some quick modeling on this. First off, let me see. Let me turn this sketch on. I got things kind of a little out of whack, so let's go fix that real quick. Now, I'm going to go back into the edit form by coming and looking at my timeline here. Right mouse click on this and say edit. I'm going to double click on everything to select all. I'm going to say edit form again, and I'm going to grab this one to rotate this around basically 45 degrees so things match up. Okay, and OK to that. Alright, that looks good. Now let's make sure, yeah, I wanted the height one to be opposite of that. Okay, finish form again. Alright, some quick modification. First one I'm going to show you, I'm going to go to modify and do something called split face. So when you pick a face like that and hit the splitting tools, it'll extend it out. It looks like that. When you say OK, ends up that right there is a separate piece now. And what's great about that is that we can actually assign different materials to it if we want to do something like that. Okay. Now the problem is it's only got one side. We need to do the opposite. So I went back into the sketches, turned on the sketch detail, can pick the same face again, modify, split face, jump into the splitting tool. There it is, and hit OK. Got that confirmed. Alright, good. Now let's do the speaker detail. That's just simply a extrusion. That's going to be a cut. I'll do a bounding box for this one. So I can quickly select them all, pull it down, and once it hits that surface, it actually is going to cut into it like that. That's what we want. Good. There's our speaker detail. Now for the button, it's going to be that kind of two-step process again. First step, to extrude, click, drag down. Okay, and we'll go ahead and do it one particular distance, minus 1.8. Okay, good. That's done there. Now, on this sketch, I don't know if you notice there's two actual ellipses there. The smaller one is actually for the button detail. So I'll pick it and drag down. Make sure, I think I used the right one. It looks like that. And for this one, I'm going to say distance to an object. So pick that face, and it'll automatically get the right height to it. Don't want to join this. I want this to be a new body. Okay, hit OK to that. Let's turn that sketch off. Go do modify, fillet. Pick that top edge, and click and drag on it, and now I got a nice smoothed out form there. Okay. So just a few more, or really one more detail, and that is I want to put a torus in on the end there for the necklace loop. Okay, so I'll click on that, I'll go to the right view, and I'll zoom up and just probably play it by ear. Click once there, click a second time, wasn't lined up, and drag outwards, and about that distance. And we'll make this down a little bit smaller, way smaller. Let's see. pay attention to that one. So that actually cut. It didn't build it or join like I wanted to. So I'll use the timeline, go back here and edit form, switch this to join, and there we go. Okay, and I can try a little detail like adding a little fillet around this end. Oh, there's not a lot. Oops, there's more than I thought. Okay, what was the rate? Is that 0.65? Okay, good. Now what I'll actually do is clear that, click that edge, and before I can do both then and 0.65. Alright, so there's that detail. So that's kind of a real quick demo of what a t-spline form is. As long as it makes a properly closed watertight form, it'll convert to a solid, and then you can, as you demonstrated here, you can use the standard set of tools then to kind of go through and modify the form. Okay, if you ever need to adjust it, you go back here in the timeline, right mouse click and say edit, and you can continue to sculpt on it. It doesn't keep the history within the t-splines, okay? Only in the modeling side does it keep the history or the timeline there, so just be aware of that.